Stephen Farrell, and I am one of the founders of this farm. I don't know whether you got the farm history. Did you get that yet? No. Okay. We started this farm in 1994. We used to produce all the ginger and turmeric for the company. Now we produce 4%, and we still produce the same amount. 25,000 kilos a year is what we produce. So they have, they're the largest purveyors in the world of organic turmeric. And as you take our tour today, you'll learn about why turmeric is so important for all of us. And we should get 2 grams dried every day into our bodies. That's a lot. That means you have to eat curry for breakfast, lunch, and dinner like they do in India. Or you can take capsules, or you can take a teaspoon, or there's other ways to do it. But you really want to incorporate it daily into your diet. And that's a lot. Yes, ma'am.
25,000 kilos, can you tell us what that looks like?
That looks like filling this garage area up to about this high in boxes, 20 kilos a box. That's 1,200 boxes.
1 kilo is 2.2
pounds. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot, but it isn't really. Considering it's a food, it's not a medicine. And that's what this company, New Chapter, which used to be called New Moon, which is Nueva, but they changed in the mid-90s because they were afraid of connotations with the Moonies, and you know, which could go, and they knew they were going to grow, and they wanted to have a more, a less flippy-dippy hippie name that we all started when we were all hippies in the early 80s. But it works nice for our company. And the reason it was called New Moon is because when you do extracts or tinctures, you put the herb in the alcohol or in the water on the new moon, and you extract on the full moon. So that's why there's that reference. It's an herbal tincture reference to New Moon. But anyway, so in '94 we started. For the first 5 years, we produced 5 of us, myself and 6 of us, myself and 5 workers, produced the ginger and then later the turmeric for the company. And this farm was all overgrown. This farm I bought, when I bought it in '94, it had been abandoned for 12 years because I needed something I could certify immediately. In certification, you need to have at least 3 years of no chemical use. So if I had bought a working farm, I'd have to wait 3 years before I could get it certified. So one of my goals was to do that. Also, when you get an abandoned farm, the bank had it. We got it for literally a steal. The bank was just a jungle, but we ended up paying for that in labor costs to put it working. But what we gained were great soils, really good environment, and then we could come in and sculpt the farm. We left most of our stuff in heavy brush, and as we still do, you'll go by when we take this tour, you'll see fields that are brush, and that's what we do. We have a 5-year fallow cycle, or 5-year cycle of planting. We have 2 years of planting, 3 years of fallow. And 3 years in the tropics, in the humid tropics, you get a lot of growth really fast. And to recuperate soils. What we're doing is getting all these broadleaf native weeds and plants. So they're coming in, they're growing. We're cutting them back at different times. We're putting animals in there. We're getting goats to eat the tops, pigs to eat the bottoms. And we're recycling that vast array of nutrients because we're growing with a type of farming that is using a lot of biology in our formula for fertility. Truly, when I'm not an agronomist, I'm a farmer. And I studied education when I was in university. But what I learned in the last 12 years is that my exposure as a farmer was to NPK. And that is only half of the formula for fertility. We want to have this biota, this biology that's in the soil that makes those nutrients available to the plant and helps create humus, which is the basis of fertile soils. So when we let this fallow area grow, and if you're up north and you're using alfalfa as a fallow crop or clover, you're getting the same thing, but you're not getting the diversity of biota that we have. But we're a rainforest farm, and we're growing rainforest crops. Everything you see, except for a little greenhouse of greens, comes from the rainforest. We're growing papayas, pineapples, yucca, ginger, turmeric, all native to tropical rainforest, either in Asia or in the neotropics.
What did they grow here before?
They grew peanuts and beans. Wonderful. And that was done, no chemicals. They did something called frijoltapao, which is an indigenous form of growing where you come in. It's in the Sweden agricultural methods. Are you familiar with what Sweden agriculture is? Where you come in, the indigenous people came in and would cut down forest and burn it or char it, is what they're learning now. So you get your biochar from. And they would char it, and they would come in and plant the three sisters, which are corn, beans, and squash. They would plant fruit trees all around the area, which would be pehivaya palms, peach palms, depending where you are, avocados, guanabanas, all the native tropical fruits. They would hunt the area, and then after that year they would take off and they would go to a new area. And then after a while they'd come back to that same area. Instead of primary forest, they had no steel axes. They were cutting everything with stone axes. It was secondary forest, which is 10-year, 12-year growth is a nice secondary forest here. It was much easier to cut, to char again, and this time all their fruit trees are in production. So they had high protein, high caloric content foods to come back as their superfoods until their beans, corn, and squash came, and they would hunt the animals again, and that was what they did. So their way of growing is a 10 or 12-year cycle. And what we're doing is a 5-year cycle, much more intensive, but we're also putting down compost and foliar sprays, compost teas, things like that to maintain our cycle. And we're putting animals in.
What kind of animals did they have?
They didn't have any.
No, I mean animals they hunted.
Oh, there were, well, depends where they were. There's tapir, collared peccaries, there's tepesquintles, which are pacas, agoutis, turkeys, armadillos, possums. They ate them. They still do. And so I just read a book in Louisiana where they eat. There you go. But
with a slow cooker though.
yeah. But I mean, eating everything is part of what we really did as a species. We were very not very selective. We ate anything that came across the path, and there's a lot of cultures that still do eat a lot of things. You know, we're missing all the grubs and insects in our culture, and that's a large part of protein and calories for many people all over the world. And as we're transitioning through, I'm getting all, just excuse me for talking, I'm going to go all over the place here, but we used to have raise our chickens in that way that Joel Salatin did, which is pastured profits, which you brought your chickens through the pastures in cages, and we had to move them twice a day. He puts, I don't know, 30 chickens or more. We put 12 just because our grasses weren't as good, and we fed them, and he feeds them also concentrate. But we can't get any GMO-free concentrates in Costa Rica, so we stopped bringing any GMOs onto the farm. So as a result, we don't raise our chickens, but we're in the process now of looking to do insects as protein for our, this is getting back to the diet of many different people. There's a fly that produces a lot of larvae, a lot of maggots. And the idea is to have these fly habitats where the maggots fall through in that cage and then the chickens eat them. So
The goal for the chickens was chicken production. It wasn't to act in place of pesticides.
No, it was just to have broilers, and and then we also had an egg mobile, which moved around in a. That's a portable chicken coop that you could push, or if we had to move it far, we'd hook it up to the oxen or the water buffalo and move it from below. But when it was in one field, every day you moved it, so that way all your poop and your grains fell in a different area, and so you were really creating these really rich soil areas. And if you put a little bit of poop in on the surface with the rain, with the microorganisms, it turns out to be gold. If you put a lot of poop in, it just kills everything. So the idea is to move. And that basis of moving animals was what Salatin, you guys are familiar with Joel Salatin. He saw this and he explained it as this. When you look at the prairies, you guys are from probably all growing areas. The prairies were built by buffalo, prairie chickens, and predators. That was the three things that created those rich, deep soils. You'd have 1 million or 2 million animals in a herd. They were real close together. Why were they close together? For safety. And they always moved. Why were they moving? Because they were running through the grass and there was pressure on them from predators. So this group moved north in the springtime, so they build up so they could calve and then come back down. And they went from North Texas to Midlands of Canada, back and forth for 1 million years, pooping, cutting grass, and the role of the prairie chicken was to spread that cow flop out. Instead of one plop there, they spread it out a square meter. And they also had a great role is that they reduced the predators for the buffalo, because in the poop were the fly larvae. And when they fly larvae would hatch, then they would go and predate upon their host again. But the prairie chickens got the protein out of that. So this is all going back to how you can use insects in what we're trying to come up with is creating insects to feed our chickens, which aren't prairie chickens. They're chickens that are native to the rainforests of Asia. That's where chickens come from. And trying to create a habitat for them and a protein source so that they don't get, it doesn't take 20 weeks to raise a chicken, and they're not tough as an old shoe. So you want to have these different combinations. You want to get sunlight in them, you want grass, there is some insects, but you have 12 chickens in a not meters, in a 8 by 15 foot enclosure for 5, 6, 7 hours. They're going to go right through all the grasses, any insects. So you got to keep moving, and you got to have an alternate source, or they will not get what they need to grow in a way that makes them good for our kitchen in the time that we need. So we're out. Okay, we've gone through foods, we're growing, why we're growing. You understand how prayer. Oh, the other thing about what animals do is in biodynamics, you got to have animals on your farm because they have a role. When your grass grows, if you have a grass that's just eaten the first few tops, you're going to lose your roots corresponding to your amount of growth. So if you cut your grass or have an animal graze it down, you're going to lose a lot of root mass. Then you're going to have a long time to recover the grasses. So if you divide your farm, or in the case of the predators move those animals off of that area, then you have that recuperation time. It recuperates quickly. It's got a lot of nutrients that are left and spread out by the prairie chickens and the buffaloes, and that just feeds that grass. Every time your root mass dies back, you're opening up a wonderful source of nutrients for all your biota. Your soil biota would be protozoa, nematodes, bacteria, and fungi. And from there, as one eats the other, one breaks down, they're all working with different mineral groups. This is what's building these dark, rich soils that are high in humus. And that's how you got your 15, 20-foot deep soils. Yes, sir?
So that's, how did the people fit in, and how did you get into the guest operation?
Oh, I got lost then. Okay. So, man, boy, did I get lost. So in '99, we started, 2000, we started to build these facilities. And these facilities was this one house and this garage, when it was a garage, and the pool. And that was for guests of New Chapter to come, family and guests. And then Tom Newmark said, well, we should have more areas because we need to teach nutrition to our clients. And their clients are the people that sell their vitamins and supplements all over the world. And so we built a set of cabins down where our office is, and family cabins. And then they filled those, and they said, well, we really need more area. So a friend acquired a farm, and they built a set of cabins in another house. So we spread out all over this way, all willy-nilly, no real plan, because that's the way it just developed. And then in 2008, New Chapter and us decided that we should open it to the public, because here we have all these facilities, and it's only open 3 or 4 months of the year to invited guests. And in the meantime, we had been doing all these different projects. We have a dairy. We're working on a blackwater treatment for the dairy. We have this wonderful herb garden right over here that has 300 medicinal herbs. We have rainforest hikes, and we have this system of fields and food production. So we said, okay, in the meantime, we'll continue on our farming, and we'll start to switch over and do more food production for our hotel, and we'll offer more foods than just ginger and turmeric. So our farm crew went from 5 people to 15 people to 17 people, and more managers, and the whole operation grew. And then the hotel, we used to have just our local neighbors or the wives of our workers who would come, and they'd clean up the house and take out the cobwebs, and they'd cook, and they would work for a week or 2 weeks, and then they'd head off again. So then we kept the same people, and once we started on a payroll, you get, in Costa Rica, you have a 43% added cost to your hourly wage for benefits. So it made a bigger commitment. It made budgeting a whole lot different, and we had to start paying for that. And that's why one of the other reasons was to say, okay, if we're going to have full-time people, we got to fill the rooms. And this is where we are just learning. By no means, we have a lot of really wonderful projects going on, and we're not taking advantage of them. We're very weak in marketing. I was just in a meeting this morning, again, about, okay, how do we get this information, what we have, how do we package it in a way that will be interesting and exciting for our guests or our visitors to learn about food. And from the beginning, our concept was, we're not going to be like any other hotel. We're going to connect everybody to their food. And that's what we want. We wanted an environment where you could come, be close enough to Fortuna, a half-an-hour bus ride away. You can do your zip lines and your massive hot water bath and river rafting and all the other adrenaline activities. But what we wanted here was an opportunity for guests to come and learn about farming, learn about health, learn about herbs, and then we have this extra wonderful thrown-in thing that we are a wonderful nature site. We're 600 meters from the Children's Rainforest, which is 55,000 acres of contiguous rainforest that goes over to the Pacific side. So we get very good species migration. We get jaguars on this farm. We get pumas on this farm. They follow their host species down, which in this case are collared peccaries. So they're following these peccaries down. We get different birds coming down as the fruits mature at different times in different altitudes, different elevations. So what we're trying to do is wrap this into some package, but it's got all these different segments, and it's hard to try to package one thing. And I'm, as you can tell by my presentation, I'm all over the place. I do this, I get excited about that, I have back burner projects, and they keep working. So what we're trying to do, or what I have people trying to do, because I can't do it, is is to package this and sell it in a way. We're going to go out and see chocolate. Why don't we have a chocolate tour? Why don't we have people come in and know how to do the whole process of making chocolate, and then sit down and peel nibs and roast chocolate and grind it and put it in with ginger or cinnamon or hot peppers and make a dark bitter chocolate with 80% chocolate in it, and then leave, and then here is your piece of chocolate, and you've given me $20 for this experience, and you've gotten at least $20 worth of chocolate, but you've had this 5-hour tour, and we have, you know, had your power, your hand power to grind chocolate or make it by hand, but you at least see how the process is. Why aren't I offering a chocolate drink that was the old ancient chocolate drink, which was chili peppers, vanilla, and chocolate as a hot beverage? No sugar. Why don't we? And Ismael, who is my teacher now, he's in charge of our chocolate project, and we are making progress. But we get real busy, and I need to send him off to a friend that has a chocolate tour, because this fellow's been doing a chocolate tour down in Puerto Viejo on the Caribbean side, down near the Panamanian border, for the last 12 years. So he knows how to do it, and he's a good friend of ours. He's a biodynamic farmer like we are. And Ishmael is the man to go, take his family, spend 2 or 3 days down there, learn how to do it, and come back, rather than try to create something he and I in the dark, and so that the process will be really enjoyable for all our guests, and they'll walk away with a project that's really something scrumptious to eat. And I was in the States, I just came to the States. I was in Asheville, North Carolina, and I ran into some people I had known years ago when they were down here, and they have a chocolate store called the Chocolate Lounge. And I was out with my family. My family is Costa Rican. They were salsa dancing. I don't dance. So I was walking around. It was a Thursday night. It was cold. And I go past this place, and there's a line of people coming into the Chocolate Lounge. And it's just chocolate. There's no booze. There's no nothing. There's hot chocolate to drink, of course. But that was it. And this was like the hottest place in town. Between going out after dinner and before you go out to dance or something, everybody went and got their piece of chocolate. So it just, I saw, you know, boy, am I asleep at the wheel at this project here. So what if I hear that you folks are all sort of like what we're doing. You know, you all have ideas. You're different. You have farms. You want to learn how to take advantage of what you have, and you want to share what you have with guests as another way of increasing your income. Because I think as we see down the road, we really need to work locally or as a guest thing, not purely income from a raw product like sending ginger off. Like this farm did survive for many years doing that. But now there's organic ginger from China that can come in cheaper, put in Los Angeles, than I can put into my packing house here. So I have to be able to adjust to those things. And one of the ways is doing a value-added food or a value-added tour, and working with what we have and trying to increase our security. And it's a two-way street. The security is for the farm and the people, the family, or the neighbors that work on that farm. And then what we have to teach our customers is the security is for them. We're still so far removed from our food sources, not us that farm, but our customers are, and most people that buy food are so, they don't understand that there's like a 4 or 5 day period. If you have a breakdown in fuel, then all of a sudden you don't have your grocery stores filled with food anymore. You might have some canned goods and some dry goods, and that's about it. So those are the things that we need to work with as we're doing, and we're trying to do the same thing here, work with our local groups of people. We have a tea tour coming up in March. And most of the people that signed up live in Costa Rica. And we're giving out tea plants And we have a friend coming from the United States who's teaching how to make senshi, Japanese tea, do a whole tea ceremony, teach the whole process. His wife is an herbalist, and she's teaching the next weekend herbs from Rudolf Steiner, who is the man that created the biodynamic farming movement. And she's showing how those herbs also work not only in biodynamics, but their role in our health. So we have this 2 weekend, but the first weekend is filling up with people that are local. And that was my point, is to try to work as local as possible, because again, that same problem, if fuel prices go up and we can't truck food from California to wherever it has to go, then what do our folks do for their greens and their pig food and their chicken food and whatnot? And the same thing here, if the prices go up, outside tourism drops down. Where is your security? So we're always looking for a secure market. Secure markets are local markets. And that's what we really have to learn to capitalize on. And there, as I said, it's a two-way street. Once you have a dedicated group of customers, you have security. And that's what we're looking for. We're not looking to make a killing. We're looking for this nice, stable, secure income that our workers are paid, our family can make progress, and our customers and our neighbors have a good source of organic, sustainable food, and they know it's there and they're part of that.